wise about cooking something up with me.
We were his mom and dad's neighbors down in Kentucky, and I had to go to the little general store for my mom, and I always had to pass by his mom and dad's house, and they always hollered at me, you know. And I'd been to the store and I was coming back, and of course they hollered at me, and I spoke to them, and I saw this man standing on the porch. Man, he had the most beautiful red wavy hair, and I'll never forget, he had on darker blue pants and a powdered blue shirt. And he was so sunburnt, his face was red, his arms was red. And I didn't know who he was, but he waved to me, and I thought, oh wow, I'll marry that man someday.
Actually, I met her brother. We went to school together and we became friends. I started hanging around with Bobby, and then was going home, and then I met his little sister. So that's kind of how that came about.
True.
We both worked at the same place, and we were just friends for years, and with a group of
We actually met in 10th grade.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the same English class together?
No, we were in the same business math class together. And she wasn't doing very good.
Oh, that was the 12th grade.
Was it 12?
Yeah, we met in the 10th grade, actually.
And in the 12th grade, I tutored her a little bit on math. And we started going out together.
She was working at a restaurant over in Mason called the Big Top. I had a garage down the street, and I eat up her every day.
I was 12. We met because my dad, well, actually it was my uncle, sung with Becky's mom and her dad in a gospel group, and Dad got us to meet through my uncle, who they come to our church and sing, or we'd go to churches and they'd be there singing. And then my dad started church at, with her mom and Dad and with my uncle and his wife. So we was really together all the time.
I don't remember seeing him until that first time when his dad brought the three boys to our house to talk to my mom and some other people and my dad and about starting a mission, which is New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. And he brought the boys, and me and Roger went in the backyard and we played some kind of ball game, where you threw it was a little popper thing, you threw it and the other person would catch it, And so when they left, I called my cousin and I'm like, oh my gosh, the cutest guys were here, and there's even one for you, and that was his brother David, but I just thought he was...
I was on a bowling league, and I needed somebody, it was a mixed couple bowling league, so I needed a replacement for a lady that dropped out. So I asked her, and she started bowling with us.
I crossed a mountain. There was a mountain that separated us. I crossed this mountain.
Everybody's going to see this.
And I seen her sitting in a little community church house. And I went around the outside of the building, and I seen her sitting in there, and everybody was staring at me and in the window, and I winked at it.
Well, I lived in Kentucky, and they moved from Oak Ridge to Kentucky when he was like 17. And I got struck on him and his... Then we did not date until he went into service in the Army. He wrote me a letter, and I answered it, and we courted. We called it courting, not dating back then.
Met her at the White Castle.
In Norwood.
In probably about 1960.
I remember him walking down the street. He was walking down into our neighborhood, and he was just, when he walks, he's got a bounce.
I had more of a bounce back then. I went over her house. Her brother's the same age as me, and I stopped by there, and she'd come out to the door, and I'm like, oh. She was like 11, I was like 15. I said, she's kind of cute.
He was home for a month in the summer, and he had a motorcycle, so that was fun. I had just graduated, so I didn't have anything to do that summer, and his friends were all working. So we just hung out and rode a motorcycle for a month.
I moved in on her road, Shepherd Road, back in November 1970. I was 13 years old, and she lived across the street. That's when I first seen her.
Well, bless my soul, what's wrong with me? I'm itching like a man on a fuzzy tree. My friends say I'm acting wild as a bug. I'm in love. I'm all shook up.
Oh my gosh, I thought he was so cute, and I had the biggest crush on him. It was like the world's biggest crush. And then, like he just told you, he thought I was Bob's little sister, so he'd come in and, hey kid, and talk my head and stuff. And so then I hated him. I hated him so bad. When I'd see him coming, I'd go upstairs in my house so I wouldn't even have to see him. So I went straight from having this big old crush to I just hated him because he thought I was the kid and I was in love, you see.
To me, he came across as a very smart egghead, what you call the egghead, you know, the little pocket protector. He was very smart. He was quiet. At least I thought he was quiet. When I started dating him, I needed his knowledge. And so I dated him strictly for that.
For my mind.
So that he would help me with my work. And he got me through that class.
He just loved me for who I am and accepted me for who I am and not what he a lot of times would have expected to be.
When he sent me roses, he wouldn't order a dozen. There was always one left out because he always said that I was the 12th rose. And that's special to me.
But he would call and we'd stay on the phone for hours. He would stand at a phone booth and talk to me for hours. So
when I had a dime.
Yeah. And then that night I was yeah, when you had a dime. What?
Man, and very, very kind.
Not overly romantic.
No, he's just quiet and reserved. A man of few words, but very good and very kind.
I asked some of the old burly boys, I said, who is a good-looking girl sitting in there?
Oh.
We was both kind of jealous of each other. So
Oh, you shouldn't say that.
if I thought somebody was trying to make a move on my girlfriend, that wouldn't work. That just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And he had a total of himself and 4 brothers. And 2 of them were blonde, and he was the dark-haired one. Immediately, all the girls were saying, oh, look at that one, look at that one. I'm like, I like the dark-haired, dark-eyed one.
I had a 57 Chevrolet, of course everybody did then, you know. I thought maybe I'd win her over with the car, but it didn't work.
What did you think the first time you saw Checky?
Oh, it was beautiful. Still is. She had a change.
Checky.
In my eyes.
They say for every boy and girl they're just one love in this whole world, and I know I found mine.
Every time he'd come home, I'd make up some kind of excuse to want to go visit my neighbors, just so I could see him, you know. And then about the time I was probably about 14 or 15, that's when I got my first kiss off of him. Mom would have killed me if she'd have ever known. I went to Middletown, that's where Jean lived, and I was going to stay with her a while. So when I got to Middletown, I called the operator and asked for a Selden Palmer, you know, on Tappan Avenue in Cincinnati, and they gave me his number, and I called him. And I said, guess where I'm at? He said, honey, I have no idea where you would be at. I said, I'm in Middletown, come see me. Now, I asked him for the first date. That was my first date with him.
I really didn't want this other guy to take her out, so I asked her out ahead
And
of
that's
him.
the truth, because he was still protecting Bob's little sister, because I was his little sister.
He had a bright yellow dress.
It was so cute. It was the cutest little yellow dress.
More yellow than this. And you just got pictures of pizza sauce just all down the front of it.
And that's true.
And she's been a pig ever since. I mean, that's how she is.
The strange thing was her dad would not let us go out unless we went to church first. So if we went out anywhere, we had to go to church first, and then we could go to the movies or go get something to eat or something like that. So I made that sacrifice to go out with her, and it worked out pretty well for me.
I just thought he was a really nice man.
Yeah.
You know, never dreamed that I would go out with him. But he asked me one day, he sent me some roses. And, you know, I was honestly, I was tired of people my own age. They just didn't treat me the way that I wanted to be treated. So I went out with him.
It was 2 or 3 weeks or so before I asked her out again. I asked her out again. And we went out again. I was a trucker and I was hauling grain. Well, I was picking her up at her sister's house. And I told her I want to pick you up at your dad's house. So I walked in the living room. There said an old man I'd haul grain for, Mr. Ward. I said, what are you doing here, Mr. Ward? He said, well, I live here. He said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm dating one of your daughters.
Well, October and a Halloween party that we had for our little youth group at my cousin's house, and we did just so we could see the boys, you know. And they brought them down, and we started going together that night. We didn't even speak to each other at all. There was no ever conversation. It's almost like, you know, circle yes or no, do you like me? And so our adventure was hiding in a closet together, but he was on one side and I was on the other, and I just thought he was so cute. Honest, it's the truth.
But our first date was, we had been bowling, and then he called and asked me if I would go out to his New Year's Eve service. And that was our first date.
We go to the movie a lot, the theaters, and sometimes to the drive-in. We go to Old Coney a lot.
I asked her to go steady with me. I never went steady with a girl. I didn't want to, really. I was so young. So she could have been the first girl I ever, and the only girl I ever had, but she turned me down. When I turned 16, had my license, I had this book of putt-putt passes. This will be casual. She might do this. She said she had to wait till she was 16. So I asked her to go with me, play putt-putt, go on a little date, and she accepted. A couple days later, she told me she couldn't go, didn't want to go. Her friend talked her out of it. I wasn't going to ask her again. I went over to her mom's house. On the side of their house, they had a little sleigh hill where we took the sleds over. She opened a window and actually started talking to me, which shocked me because she never acted like she cared about me any. So I might have one more shot at her. But July '76, I asked her out. I didn't believe it until she got in the car with me.
He asked me out, and we were going to go to a movie. So I was nervous, very, very nervous. Hadn't been out with a guy, had a boyfriend or anything like that. I kept thinking the whole night, oh, we'll just listen to the radios, talk about the songs that's on there and everything. First thing, when I sit down in the car, he says, and it's a new car. It's only a few months old. He says, my radio's broke. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now?
We have to talk.
We have to talk. Went to the movie, and we got to the movie, and the movie he picked out was called The Silent Movie. It had one word in the whole movie. It was just mines.
The whole movie was a terrible movie, but no one spoke in it. It was silent. I held her
my
hand.
and that was very special, very nice. And I wasn't worried about a first kiss on the way home or anything like that, but he did give me one.
Going to the chapel and we're gonna get married. Going to the chapel and we're gonna get married. Gee, I really love you.
We did. It was it was out on all 75 up there on Chester Road. It was a windjammer. It was like a big ship. They had it like a big ship, and you would go in and you had seafood and all that kind of stuff. It was a really neat place.
I don't even think it's there anymore. But I always said, every time we drive past there, I'd always say, I'd like to go there sometime. And so that's where we went that night. I had this little ring I always wore on my left hand on my ring finger. And we were actually sitting in the car, and he kept playing with my ring, and he kind of slid my ring off and slid the diamond on. And
Is that how I did? That's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah.
So that's how that happened. On the day of my wedding, I wanted to dedicate my house to the Lord, and he remembered that. And that night, when we got home after we were married, we knelt down and prayed together and dedicated our family and our house to the Lord. And we've stood on the rock all these many, many years together, and I think that's a great part of the success.
We got engaged, but it was a long
Yeah. Bought me 2 sets of wedding rings. Yeah, one was the one I liked, and he liked one better. So I got 2 sets of wedding rings. But when we got married, I used my mom's wedding band.
He was slow on the uptake, so after dating, about a year or so, I asked him to marry me. We were in the car together on a date, and I looked over at him and I said, don't you think it's about time we got married?
I couldn't disagree with her.
Well, you know, he just I think we was going home one weekend, and he said, he said, I want to marry you. He said, I intend to ask your mom and dad for you. He said, but will you marry me? And I said, yes. I was thrilled to death. He told mom and dad, he said, I want y'all to sit down. I've got something I need to talk to you about. I started getting nervous. And mom and dad, they sat down, and he said, I want to marry your daughter. Daddy said, I'll bet you do. And mom and dad know you can't have her. Well, you can give me your blessings and go with you, or I'm going to take her and run away. Well, when he said that, I made a fast exit because I knew him and Dad would get into it. Dad finally agreed, and they told Selden he could have me, and we planned our little wedding, and we got married down home in a little church. Just the family and a few friends.
It was just a really rough time in my life, and he came back. And so when we went to church the first service, Tammy Metcalf said to me, she said, I'm so glad to see you two together. And we was in the car, and he was in the driver's seat, and I said, this time I'm going to marry him. So that's why he says I asked him to marry him, because I laid the curse on him, I guess.
She did.
Yeah.
I'd hurt myself on a job, so I went and bought a ring. I think I bought it on installments, because I don't think I had the money to pay for it. And she was doing something, was at her house, she was doing something, the laundry, if I remember right. And I told her hurry up because I had something for her. And I said, you really like it. I kept giving her hints and hints and hints, and then she knew what it was. So
It was in his pocket. That was it. It was in his, you didn't ask me to marry you. Maybe you should ask me now, I was getting married July the 2nd, and so Carolyn asked, she said, do you think your mom and dad let you go? And so I asked my mom, and I was telling Roger, I said, wouldn't it be neat if we could get married this weekend? So I asked my mom, and she said, that was on a Tuesday, and I said, can we get married Saturday? And she's like, why do you want to get married? I'm like, we love each other,
Basically, I just asked her, will you marry me?
We always felt like that God put us together. Very much so.
And we decided to get married. I asked her if she wanted to get married, so she accepted that, and we got married. And it might have been a mistake on her part, but it was the greatest move I could have made. That was in 1954.
No, that's 53 probably, because we dated 3 years before we got married.
Well,
And we got married in 56.
February the 4th, 1954, I believe.
56?
Was it 56?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it was 56.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway.
He gave me an engagement ring like in October. Before I got out of the Army in December. And we got married the 14th day of February, 1953. Well, first he says, will you accept a ring? And I said, yeah. So he brought it to me. I showed it to my sister when he left that night. I'm engaged, like all girls.
No, I think it took my prodding for about a year before he finally decided to propose.
She convinced me.
I convinced him.
I told her I was going to marry her right before I went in the Army. I think she was only like 14 and I was 17.
Everybody's going to see that, right? Did I dream that, or did he really say that? And I asked him one day, and he's like, yeah, I didn't know if you remembered that or not.
1991, March 16.
18 years now.
Where were
we? You forgot. We was out in front of my house.
Oh,
and we had broken up. Mm-hmm. And he had already bought my ring, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, she didn't really want to think about getting married.
I didn't want to think. I didn't think that I wanted to, And I was 21.
And honestly, I thought I had made up my mind that I was going to ask her out one more time, and she didn't go.
If I didn't
I wouldn't
go,
bother anymore
because
that, so.
I didn't want to get serious. Just wasn't ready, So then, in the car that night, he brought me home, and he said, "Do you love me?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Will you marry me?" And I said, "Yeah." Aww. And he pulled out my engagement ring out of his pocket, and I cried.
1963, March the 16th.
You talked about
We talked about getting
Actually,
married.
it was about 3 years after we started dating when you started really getting any seriousness.
So I first asked her, I guess I was about 21. We got married when we were 30. I was 32, she was 31.
Love and marriage go rather like a horse and carriage. This I tell you, brother, you can't have one without the other. Love and
It tells us in the Bible to husbands to love your wives as Christ loved the church. So you put her first and foremost.
There's a lot of bad years, a lot of good years. You hang in there, and you work through the bad times, and you'll end up having more good times than bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a job. You have to work at it, and
Love each other.
Be good to each other.
Be good to each other.
Don't hang out with your buddies.
And look for someone in church. I mean, you're evenly yoked, but it has to do, I think, with church. It's always, I mean, that's all we were about.
Having your heart right with the Lord first.
Right, exactly.
And don't ever think everything's your way.
My answer that yes, this was what he wanted for my life. And so then I could go into the marriage assured that it was going to be fine.
Because superficial love doesn't get it.
yeah, but don't expect them to be perfect. I mean,
No.
there's a lot of compromise, and we all come with faults, you know, and you can't go into marriage thinking it's going to be a holiday.
Neither one of us are very confrontational. We just kind of take each other for who we are, the good and the bad.
If you have the Lord in your life, that's the best thing to have also.
You can't just be in love with each other, you have to be best friends.
Stay in church and keep things honest between each other. Yeah.
But you got to be friends. Again, you got to just respect each other.
That's exactly right. Friendship's the best thing.
Wanting to be together. That's what I think.
Compromise.
That God is most important, to have God the head of your home. God number one in your life, and your spouse number two.
First, make sure that you actually love someone and not just infatuated with them.
When you're in a marriage relationship, it's like a triangle, and God's at the top of the point, and down at the sides, the husband and the wife. And the closer each one gets to God, the closer you are to each other. So I think that's very, very good advice for anyone.
Respect each other. And to trust each other.
Yeah.
If you don't have trust, you don't have nothing.
Once you've decided that you actually love someone, make sure that God's in the arrangements. Because if He isn't, it's not going to work anyway.
It's a give and take situation, and both people have to set a goal and reach for and keep looking for that goal and keep it in your sight, you know.
I think it's being true to one another and trusting each other and doing the right thing, trying to go to church and live a good, clean life above everything.
But you know what little Grammer said? He said,
To some extent.
he said the
I
Lord was a jealous
Jealous
God.
God,
And he said, if there's love, there's jealousy. And I say amen to that.
You also got to respect them. They're individuals,
Exactly.
and they change over time. She's not the same little girl that I married these many years ago.
But I'm better now.
It is.
Don't have bad habits.
Basically, to know that you really love the person.
Learn from other people's mistakes.
And then all things work together.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of trials, a lot of hardships, but through it all, and with God's help, we feel like we have a good marriage.
You just have to have a commitment. And finding somebody you like.
Yeah.
You gotta find somebody you like.
You sometimes
Because
don't like me.
well, there's not every day you like them. But you still have to have something, some type of draw that's there.
Wait till God sends somebody into your life that He wants for you to marry. I told this down at Community Baptist Church that God put an angel in my life, and that angel was Willadine. And I believe with all my heart that He put us together. And the Bible tells us that what He puts together, no man can put asunder, I believe is the way it is. So.
It is always put your spouse first. You know, if you put them first, everything's going to be fine.
He's my best friend in the whole world. He's my best friend.
Love, love, love. Love, free. You may wonder how I can promise you now, this love that I feel for you always will be. But you're not just time that I'm killing. I'm no longer one of those guys. As sure as I live, this love that I give is gonna be yours until the day that I die. Oh baby, I'm gonna love you forever, forever and ever, amen. As long as old men sit and talk about the weather, as long as old women sit and talk about old men. If you wonder how long I'll be faithful, I'll be happy to tell you again. I'm gonna love you forever and ever, forever and ever, amen. They say time takes its toll on the body, makes the young girl's brown hair turn gray. But honey, I don't care, I ain't in love with your hair. And if it all fell out, well, I'd love you anyway. They say time can play tricks on memory, make people forget things they knew. Well, it's easy to see, it's happening to me. I've already forgotten every woman but you. Oh darling, I'm gonna love you forever, forever and ever, amen. As long as old men sit and talk about the weather, as long as old women sit and talk about old men. If you wonder how long I'll be faithful, but just listen to how this song ends. I'm gonna love you forever and ever, forever and ever, amen. I'm gonna love you forever and ever, forever and ever, forever and ever, forever and ever, amen.
And if I had it do all over again, I would do it again.